What's good, everyone? MTL Sports Podcast here. We're doing a little special, not even an episode. We're just gonna call these one of the specials. We had one earlier. I would say earlier in the year. I forgot when exactly, but we had a Saturday special. I think it was around the trade deadline. We have another one coming to you guys after round 2 of the NBA draft. A lot has gone on in the past. We haven't really had any episodes this week. We won't have any episodes next week, but figured, after the draft is over and we're about to enter free agency on Sunday, it might be a good time to kind of recap some of the news over the past week or so. There's been some big things happening. Just honestly too much to try to ignore and wait for another 2 weeks to kind of let you guys in on some of these moves, some of these trades, some of these signings. Give our opinions, and then get you ready for free agency starting Sunday at 5 p.m. I think is when the tampering period is over and teams can start to announce, signings and trades and all that good stuff. So, with all that being said, guys, let's just get into it. Stay tuned. Like I said, this is a special, not a real episode, but regardless, this will be up on YouTube. I'll probably won't put this on Spotify, so it'll just be a video just for all of our video people out there on YouTube. So let's start. We got a little rundown. Let's first recap the draft, some of the big, picks. A lot of draft day trades on both days. We're not going to go over everything, but most of the major things we're going to touch on. Starting with the Hawks, they pick Zachary Reicher. I think that's how you say his last name. They were making jokes that Quavo was going to have a stroke trying to pronounce his last name, which is pretty funny. But this kid out of France, we got 2 kids out of France going back to back, 1 and 2. Alex Sarr did not work out for the Hawks, leading them to pick Zachary. They're both pretty tall. I think the Zachary kid is like 6'10". It says 6'9". 6'9", 6'10", pretty skinny, but pretty versatile. Can play defense, can get a shot. A lot of these like tall and lanky kids that are young, they're just going to be a little skinny coming into the first couple of years of the NBA. So he's going to have to bulk up. Will he contribute on the Hawks in year 1? They're going to have to make some like roster moves because they got a log jam at the forward, the wing spot. You got DeAndre Hunter, you got Sadiq Bey, you got Bojan. Just a lot of bodies right there. So Jalen Johnson, they're going to have to free some of that up. I think they traded AJ Griffin, another wing player that they had. So that takes away one spot, but like I just said, a couple of guys are kind of in his way. Now, he's the number 1 pick. He's going to play, but is he going to start? I don't know. We'll have to see which direction the Hawks move in. If they're going to trade just one of their star guards and Trae Young or DeJounte, or they're going to trade them both and just go full-on rebuild. We'll have to see. I don't know if this kid, if they keep the roster mostly intact, gets them back into the playoffs. Honestly, they're probably just stuck in the same spot. So I imagine they make some type of moves to free up some of these young guys to play. And then Alex Sarr, going to the hometown Wizards, y'all. Wizards, they made a draft day trade. A lot of people didn't feel too good about this. Denny Avia goes to Portland. And then Wizards pick up, I think, the 14th pick in this year's draft. They got like a future, I think, 2031 pick, I'm pretty sure, or a 2029 pick. I think they got like a second as well. They got Malcolm Brogdon. The Wizards in a weird spot, y'all. And I know he's a hometown favorite. Really showed out this year. Proved that he is a starter in this league. albeit on a bad team, but he can probably, I mean, he's going to Portland, he's going to another bad team, so he's going to start there too. So this just points into, this just gives me an idea of what the Wizards are going to do, right? Number one, it seems like there's going to be a fire sale in the coming days. I know they were trying to move off Kuzma last offseason. I think this offseason they will do that. Jordan Poole, I don't know if you can move off of him. I know me and Lawrence have said many times that you're probably going to have to attach a pick to get a team to entice a team to take Jordan Poole's contract. It's a bad contract. He hasn't played well since leaving Golden State. Honestly, hasn't played well since he got hit in the face. So that's a risk that, you kind of have to, properly compensate a team in order to kind of move off of him. So it looks like the Wizards are just stockpiling assets, kind of going the OKC route where, they traded Kevin. Technically, they did trade Kevin Durant. They traded, Russell Westbrook. They traded James Harden. Stockpile, assets over the years. Even though James Harden was in the midst of the Westbrook KD era, still gave them some assets. Kind of following that model. So similar to Utah Jazz as well, where they just kind of trading pieces as they go. I think that's what they're going to go with. But I understand Denny. He had, finally had his breakout year. You want to see him. And he's on a cheap contract. His numbers decline year over year. So it's not like his cap hit is going up every year. It's actually decreasing. So it's kind of a good contract, especially now that he's breaking out. But if you're the Wizards, you just got stockpile picks and just get younger. And just, you do that by any means necessary. And Brogdon is another trade piece that you can flip. Trade deadline, expiring contract. The team is going to give you a first rounder for him. Even though he is injury prone the past couple seasons, I think a team will still give you a first rounder for that. So pretty smart move. And then pretty smart move to get Alex Sarr because you're going to need a big. You gave up Gafford to the Mavs. Yeah, you got Bagley, but Bagley, unproven commodity. I did like Bagley finishing with the Wizards last year, but you probably want to get younger and not, rely on a guy that's been in the league a couple of years. So I like this pick. Moving on, number 3. I can't really get into this without, explaining some of the background, but at 3, Houston had a couple of choices. They could have, drafted a big, and according to Woj, could have enticed Phoenix of all teams with Sengun and a couple other pieces and a lot of draft picks to try to pry away Kevin Durant. We'll talk about that whole situation in a little bit, but or they could have just gone with what they needed, which is shooting. Outside of Fred VanVleet, they really don't have any shooters. Jalen Green's pretty streaky. Sengun can hit threes, but on and off. Jabari Smith Jr., yeah, he's kind of the same way. So they needed shooting. This kid shot over 50% in college from 3, which is unheard of. So, and he's sneaky athletic too. I think he had like a 42-inch vert. He's 6'3", so kid's sneaky good. Good pick. Spurs got a guard out of UConn, Stephon Castle. Pretty much like a Drew Holiday type, but bigger. Can play defense. I think he's like a streaky shooter. So probably needs to work on that. But all the Spurs need was a point guard who can defend and get the ball to Wemby. I think they have one that can develop into that. I don't know if that's going to be the case right out the gate, but we'll see. And then we're just going to round out the top 5 because all these other picks are kind of just but we'll touch on some of them. Holland II, don't know too much about this kid except for he was in the G League United. I think he's a shooter, but the kid from Tennessee was probably a better shooter, so pretty questionable pick by the Pistons. Klingon goes to the Blazers, very questionable pick. Blazers continue to show you why they're a poverty franchise. They have three good centers on the roster now. One that's a rookie. Klingon's going to be a good NBA player. He probably will be a starter, but you already have 2 starting caliber bigs on your lineup already with Time Lord, and you have DeAndre Ayton who's on a rookie max. Doesn't really make sense there. I guess you can get younger at center, but you already have again, two young guys. They're not old by any stretch of the imagination. So pretty dumb pick if you ask me. Dillingham goes to the Spurs, but I'm pretty sure this is a trade to the Timberwolves. I think they gave up like a 2030 pick or a 2031 pick to kind of get help now because I think the Wolves are in about 80 million in luxury tax because of the Ant-Man extensions kicking in and Cat's new extensions kicking in. So they're gonna be in luxury tax, so they kind of got cheap help from a point guard who honestly is probably going to play next year as a starter from Mike Conley. Mike Conley's getting up there in age, so he's probably going to take over next year, but at least 1 year to kind of learn from Mike Conley the ins and outs of the league. A kid who, Kentucky guards in general are pretty good, so I wouldn't sleep on this kid. Zach Edey going to the Grizzlies. They need a size. They need a guy to play alongside Jaren Jackson Jr. My only concern about Zach Edey is can he play up to the Grizzlies' pace, which is they're pretty fast. They're pretty young, so they like to run up and down. This isn't the Grizzlies of old. That's just ground and pound and a slow grind. Now this new Memphis Grizzlies team with John Morant, they love to run, love to get out on the break, shoot threes. Zach Edey's only issue I see is just getting up and down the court. Probably got to drop a couple pounds to be able to play 30-plus minutes alongside Triple J. So we'll see. Cody Williams, sneaky good pick by the Jazz. My only concern is they kind of have a log jam at guard with Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton and I think Keontae George as well. So they got to figure that out. Devin Carter to the Kings. I had a problem at first because you had Davion Mitchell, but I think the Kings sent Davion Mitchell packing, unfortunately. So he'll slide right in. I actually wanted my Heatles to take him. He would have fit right in with the Heat because they do need a backup point guard. They've needed one for a while. Then the Wizards, they picked up, the 14th pick from Portland. So they picked up Bub from Pittsburgh, another good point guard. I thought the Heat were probably going to get this guy if he fell at 15, but wasn't the case. But the Heat did get, I don't even know if I'm saying this kid's name right, but I'm just going to say K. Ware out of Indiana. Didn't know too much about him going into the draft. ESPN has him as the fourth best, center in this draft. 7-footer, a little bit bulkier at 210. Reminds me, at least from his highlights, y'all, a little bit skinnier of Derek Lively in terms that he's athletic, can block shots, can move, can finish at the rim, catch lobs. Shot 40% from three, but only took 2 attempts per game, so not a really big sample size. So we'll see if, whether he starts or even just plays. Let's say he plays 20, 25 minutes a game. If he can stay around 40%, if Spo can get this man shooting, going from 2 threes a game to 3 to 4, if he can knock down 40%, I'm fine with that as a rookie. He believes he can be an all rookie in his first year. We'll have to see. He's going to fight Jovic for some 4/5 minutes. So Jovic going into his third year, I'm expecting another big leap from that kid. So we'll see how much K. Ware plays. But I was pretty impressed. I didn't think Miami would actually take a big. I thought they would just focus on guards and wings, which I thought, the kid from Tennessee would probably get picked here. But I understand, they've been hinting at a while that, Bam is actually a 4. That's not for a while, I would say, just this offseason in particular, from UD, even Pat that said, we know Bam's a true 4. Probably need to get some help finally because just all the bigs in the East and the West. I mean, in the East, you got Porzingis, you got Joel, you got Miles Turner coming on, you got Pascal. And then in the West, you got Joker, you got AD, you got I can't really say Cat, but I guess you can't say Cat and Gobert. So you got Laurie too. So the Heat needed size, and the past couple free agencies, getting guys on the cheap hasn't worked. So I guess trying to develop a guy is probably the next direction they lean into, and I'm glad they did it here. Jerry McCain goes to the Sixers. They really don't need a backup point guard, but they got one anyway. And then I think the last person we'll touch on is the Lakers pick, Dalton Connect from Tennessee. This kid was projected to go top 5, I'm pretty sure, but fell all the way to 17. I think he had I don't know if it says it here, but he had a crazy amount of 30-point games last year for Tennessee. I think he carried them offensively. I'm pretty sure Miami didn't pick him because he's pretty much just a bigger Tyler Hero. They don't really need that. If anything, they want their wings to play defense. And this kid is kind of iffy on defense, so it wouldn't make sense to just have another liability on defense, even though the kid could eventually get, I guess, somewhat reliable on defense, but they didn't want to take that. They didn't want to take that risk, so they opted for a big. The Lakers, they just need shooting from the outside, from the wing spot. This kid, he might start, but we'll have to see how their roster looks post free agency. But the Lakers definitely got better. Second round news. Only thing I have to say is yes, Bronny did go to the Lakers at 55. Apparently, Rich Paul was calling teams saying if you pick Bronny, he will play in Australia. Would have fucked up, but you're Rich Paul. You can do what you want, I guess. Clutch does have a good grip on the league. And I'm actually surprised that Kyle Filipowski fell out of the first round. I thought that kid could have gone first round easily. So the Jazz got steal right there. And then Miami picked up this kid, Pal Larson from Arizona, a good shooter. Probably just going to be like a Duncan Robinson replacement potentially. If Duncan gets moved at some point this offseason, or just they move off that contract. So we'll see. We will definitely see there. So that's the draft. There was some crazy draft day trades. Don't really have time to go over all of them. Want to kind of make this video short. So let's get into some free agency news. All right. So for the past week or so, there's been some movement, some signings, all that good stuff. Let's start the very, very beginning, y'all. I think probably the biggest move in the beginning, Pascal resigning 4 years, $889 million to stay at the Pacers. 30 years old, so he'll be up to re-sign again at 34, which isn't a bad thing at all. Then I think I'm pretty sure on the same day the Bulls and OKC make that trade. Caruso is going to OKC. Josh Giddey is going to the Bulls. Great trade by both teams. Obviously, I think you have to say that OKC wins just because they get a starting caliber player, all defensive player in your starting lineup, and Caruso. You have the money to pay him, so obviously they're going to pay him. He can slide into the starting spot. I don't know if he's going to start at the 3 or the 4 or the 2. I'm assuming J-Dub is still going to start. It wouldn't make sense to bring Caruso off the bench. So he's going to start. They instantly get better. I think Caruso shot 40% from 3 last season, career high. So on offense, he's going to be in the corner hitting down shots. On defense, he's going to guard the best player, best perimeter player. OKC got tremendously better. They sneakily might have moved into the best team in the West after this trade. I think this trade alone is probably enough to make them the best team in the West now. Because you got two of the top 5 guys in steals on the same team. Yeah, there's gonna be they're gonna be a problem. They're gonna be a problem. And then Josh Giddey just fell out of the rotation in OKC. He just needed a new change of scenery. And Chicago's a good team for that. What else? And then Malik Monk stays with the Kings. I think there was a feeling that he might test the open market, but they kind of just said, "Hey, we'll give you your money." 4 years, $78 million. isn't bad at all. It's about $20 million per year. He deserved it. Played really well last season off the bench as their sixth man. Who knows? He might start next season. I'm pretty sure Hoarder just didn't really fit in with the starting unit. And then you draft Devontae Carter, maybe Javonte, or not Javonte. Devin Carter comes in as a sixth man as a rookie, plays big minutes. We'll see what they do. What else do we have here? Kevon Looney, his contract becomes guaranteed by the Warriors. Now, pretty much all the Warriors have to do is whether or not they're going to guarantee Chris Paul's contract and maybe use him to trade, and if they're going to give Clay a 4-year deal, which it looks like they're not, but they still have until this weekend to kind of finalize something before Clay hits the open market. What else do we have, guys? Some of the bigger trades, I'm talking big. We're talking big trades here. All right. This happened Tuesday night. The Nets and Knicks made a trade, first one since like 1983. The Nova Boys are back together, y'all. They're back together. Mikal Bridges is going to the Knicks for basically five first-round picks and a second-rounder. The Knicks just said, fuck it, we won't give you a haul for this kid. Our Nova Boys want him to come play with them, so we're just going to give you 5 picks, and you just can't say no to that. And then the Nets wanted to rebuild with Mikal Bridges, but no one's going to Brooklyn. All right, and you don't really have assets to go get people, so just give them up. Just give them up, start to rebuild. Then separately, the Nets make a trade with Houston to get their picks back from that James Harden trade. So the Nets are officially tanking. They're tanking for Cooper next season. We'll see if they beat out the Wiz. It's going to be a tough tank battle right there. And yeah, here's the details for that Brooklyn and Houston trade. So Brooklyn gets back all their picks from that James Harden trade, and Houston gets all of not all, but they get most of the Suns picks for the next couple of years, which is what I was trying to say earlier. So that now Houston controls the Suns draft for the next couple of years, and the Suns haven't got out of the first round in a couple of years. And honestly, if they don't get a point guard, it's gonna they're gonna stay in this cycle. So even with a new coach, a championship coach, if they don't have a point guard, and if their guys don't stay healthy, they're gonna have the same results. Thus, Houston has a pretty good shot at snagging Kevin Durant or Devin Booker. I'm saying or. Woj says Kevin Durant. I'm saying or. I think Devin Booker holds more value than Kevin Durant, honestly. And the Suns, after HBO pays out millions and millions of luxury tax, he's going to have to rebuild, and he probably wants to do it fast. So he might have a fire sale, and he might trade all of his stars. But we'll see. That's probably a deal they don't make until next offseason. At the latest, the earliest, maybe trade deadline when the team hopefully not, is barely treading water and they're barely 500. But I feel like not the Nets. I feel like the Suns will be better this season. How much better? We gotta see. Like I said, they gotta get a point guard. They gotta get a point guard. Some re-signings. Bam, our boy Bam, Heat legend. All right, signed a 3-year extension, max extension with the Heat. 163 years for 166. Adds on to his current 2-year deal. He could have waited another year, and he could have gotten like a supermax if he made All NBA. But since a lot of the media hates Miami and Bam in particular, the chance of him making All NBA was probably slim, unless he had like a monster season, which he probably will have. But like I said, the chances are pretty low with how voting has been in the past. So I don't blame him for taking the money early. You can always re-up again in 4 years. So he'll be 31 in 4 years. just re-up again for a Supermax. I'm sure by then you would have made at least one All-NBA because you're reaching, I guess the midpoint of your prime is probably right now, but who knows? His ceiling's still pretty high. OG re-signed as well, 5 years, $212 million. So the Knicks are loaded. Re-signed OG. They got Mikal Bridges. They got Josh Hart. They got DiVincenzo. Chances are I don't know if they're going to be able to afford Hartenstein. They really want to re-sign him, but I don't think they can afford to unless they move on with Mitchell Robinson. But no one's going to want that injury-prone. He is injury-prone, so I don't see anybody taking him. And Randall, where does Randall fit in all this? I don't know. My chances are that they try it with Randall, but I just don't. It's just too many good players and just one basketball. So I don't foresee Randall fitting well with this group. I feel like he'll be the odd man out. So maybe they move off of Randall at some point during the season. So I think he might be up too next year. So it would be smart to move off of him preemptively, but knowing New York, they probably just want to give it a shot. And one more re-signing that we gotta go over. Nicky Claxton signs a 4-year, $100 million to return to the Nets. The Nets have to spend money anyway, so it makes sense to re-sign Nick Claxton. You need at least a couple of good young guys to, when you do get a Cooper Flag or someone good that they can learn from, but also make the team enticing for potentially a free agent. Now, I'm not saying any free agent is going to go to Brooklyn. Chances are slim to none. But hey, KD and Kyrie did, so who knows? Who knows at this point? I'm pretty sure that's all the free agent news we got to go over. The Nuggets traded Reggie Jackson to the Charlotte, try to save some money after he opted in. Paul George still on the fence if he's going to either force a sign and trade if he opts in, or he's just going to opt out and test the market. But only so many teams have cap space. OKC, Philly, Orlando. And I think the Spurs can make cap space, so his choices will be limited. In my opinion, he probably opts in and forces a trade to wherever he wants to go. No one's really said where he wants to go. I guess that's pretty. That his camp's kind of keeping that information close to them. But I imagine on Sunday, when we figure out if he's going to opt in or opt out, once he does, whatever he does, the list of teams will, he'll throw out there. Hopefully Miami's in the mix, but honestly, it's probably going to be Philly. Well, he wouldn't opt in to go to Philly. He opts in, he's going to probably want to go to a contender, so maybe the Lakers. Shoot, who knows? Maybe the Lakers. Who else could he go to? Maybe the Rockets if he's, they have a lot of assets. The Knicks can't afford him anymore, so maybe Cavs can't afford him. I don't know. It'll be intriguing if he's, whether what teams he wants to go to. And then the other domino, of course, Klay Thompson. He's probably he honestly will probably test the free agency. I don't think the Warriors are in the business of giving him 4 years. It makes sense because they got Kuminga, and you probably want to see if Moody can actually start. So it's probably best if they do move off Klay Thompson, but I understand if he just, if he moves on, or if he's just like, all right, don't give me the 4 years, but if you up my money a little bit, I'll stay. So we all gonna be on the same timeline as Steve Kerr and Steph Curry. I think Steph has like 2 or 3 more years left. Steve Kerr is signed for 2 or 3 more years. It would only make sense that Klay is aligned. It doesn't get. I don't think it's being greedy, but definitely, if he just gets in line for everybody else's contracts, but they just give him a little bit more money, I feel like that's probably the best way to resolve the situation. But who knows how this is going to shape up. And then one more thing, I think I want to say Jimmy said that he doesn't want to be traded, and he is not expecting an extension this offseason. So he will play out his contract, and then in the summer of next year, will decide his future. So he's basically betting on himself. Miami, old man Pat want Jimmy to just play 65 games. And I get it. Jimmy doesn't really care about the regular season. A lot of load management. But honestly, load management, and we've been to 2 finals in 5 years. The 3 years we haven't been, load management has been kind of the issue, except for the year we lost in, Game 7 to Boston, the first time they went to the finals. Jimmy, you just got to play 65 games at least, buddy. You got to make an All-NBA team. You can do it. You did it last year. The team just as a whole has to stay healthy, has to play through injuries. Everyone, the core has to play 65 games at least. We have 2 All-Stars for sure, borderline 3 between, Hero, even if Rozier has another good year. This team should, do a lot better than they have been doing. They should be able to compete for a high seed. Now, they're going to need to make some moves. Obviously, I think the Celtics and Knicks are 2 best teams now. Philly, if they can't get any free agents, they will be a pretty weakened team. So Miami could easily sneak in as the 3rd best team. Now, to get to the top, they're going to need a PG. They're going to need a Donovan Mitchell to come to Miami, but chances of that happening are slim to none. Don't really have assets at this point in time, so we will have to see. I think I want to say that's all I have to recap in terms of free agency predictions. Free agency starts on Sunday, like I said. Kind of already said it, but I think Paul George opts in and forces a trade. I think Clay goes to OKC. And I was going to say Jimmy gets traded, but he says he's going to decline any trade and just play out the season. So I think he stays in Miami. There will be one surprise trade. I think the Mikal Bridges was one of 3 or 4 surprise trades. I think there will be another 2 to 3. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Blazers kind of blow that up even some more. I think Simons is gone. And it looks like Ayton's probably gone as well if they're going to draft the Donovan Clingan kid from UConn. So they're both probably gone. What else? Dallas probably has a trade in mind that's going to shock us. And let's see here. I want to say Golden State makes a trade too. I think whether it's for PG or someone we haven't really heard of yet, I think they will package Wiggins and a couple picks. Maybe even Looney or CP3 if they guarantee this contract to make the numbers work. They're going to package some of those guys and picks for another borderline all-star, because I think Wiggins kind of just lost his mojo after he went through whatever he went through with his family or whatever the case is. So I think it's time to move off of that. He won them a championship. He got paid. Let him run off, right off into the sunset with, some other team. Maybe they'll fix his mentality. But I think Golden State is going to make a surprise trade. So we shall see if it actually comes to fruition or not. But that's my predictions. But like I said, this is just a draft day special MTL Sports podcast, y'all. This is going up on YouTube. Thank you guys for watching. I might have an update next week. Lawrence is still out enjoying his vacation, so it'll just be me next week. If I do make another special, maybe like a post free agency special. But other than that, we'll see you guys officially in about 2 weeks for, I guess, episode 103, MTL Sports Podcast. Markel signing off. See y'all later.